or message that I'd like to share on today. I'm Tiffany Chanel, and we always appreciate it when you guys tune in and stop by to check us out. All right, we are going to talk about distraction, being mindful about distractions. What are distractions? Distractions are a thing that prevents someone from giving full attention to something else. Second definition states that it's extreme agitation of the mind or emotions. All right. How many of us get distractions that happen to us day in and day out? We all experience distractions. Okay. It is just something that's going to happen and come up. But we're going to talk about ways that we're able to minimize distractions and what we can do on our part. But what I'm going to read to you guys is the story in Matthew chapter 14, verse 22 through 33. And we're going to be reading in the New International Version. And we're talking about Jesus walking on water. But we're going to talk about, of course, you may have heard the story about Peter becoming distracted. Goodness gracious. All right. So bear with me while I read these. Okay, here we go. Immediately, Jesus made the disciples into the boat and go on ahead of him to the other side while he dismissed the crowd. After he had dismissed him, he went up on a mountainside by himself to pray. Later that night, he was there alone, and the boat was already a considerable distance from the land, buffeted by the waves because the wind was against it. Shortly before dawn, Jesus went out to them, walking on the lake. When the disciples saw him walking on the lake, they were terrified. "It's a ghost," they said, and cried out in fear. But Jesus immediately said to them, "Take courage, it is I. Don't be afraid." "Lord, if it's you," Peter replied, "tell me to come to you on the water." "Come," he said. Then Peter got down out of the boat, walked on the water, and came toward Jesus. But when he saw the wind, he was afraid, and beginning to sink, cried out, "Lord, save me." Immediately Jesus reached out his hand and caught him. "You of little faith," he said, "why did you doubt?" And when they climbed into the boat, the wind died down. Then those who were in the boat worshiped him, saying, "Truly, you are the Son of God." All right. We're going to be at verse 28 where it says, "Lord, if it's you," Peter replied, "tell him to come to you on the water." Okay. And then we're jumping to verse 30 where it says, "Then Peter got down out of the boat, walked on the water, and came toward Jesus. But when he saw the wind, he was afraid and beginning to sink." If and when we get distracted, it costs us something. It costs us our peace. It can cost us time. It can cost us money. It can cost us energy. I'm looking down at my notes if you see me looking away. It can cost us connections that we were supposed to make with people. It can cost us our livelihood. It can cost us lots and lots of things, okay? Fear is a distraction. Our emotions is a distraction. And if we don't make sure that we are aware that we have that happen to us, then we can get off track, and we can get off track quick. And it costs to go back in order for us to recoup time we lost, money we lost, friendships, connections, things of that sort that we have lost. And we want to find ways in order for us to be able to minimize distractions in our lives. And I have been having that happen to me recently. So I'm going to call it the noise. What Peter said that he experienced when he got distracted by the wind. All right. He was focused. He was walking on water just like Jesus. No different. No different. And it's because he had the faith to believe when he trusted and recognized this is Jesus. He said, "If that's you, I want you to tell me what you need me to do." And because I hear you respond to me saying, "Come," I know that's you. So I am trusting in the fact that I'm going to be good. I'm going to be all right. Okay. However, where he started faltering, right, is in the distraction of the wind. The wind started making noise. The wind started having him look to the left and the right. He took his sight off of where he was headed, who he was going toward. And that is the one who saves. That is the one who loves. That is the one who covers. He is the one who protects. He is the one who shields. But when he stopped looking at Jesus, that's when he started sinking. And this is the analogy or metaphor I'm using, is this is exactly what happens to us. We get distracted by our phones. We get distracted by our emotions. We get distracted by people that are around us. Maybe there's something that you have a goal in mind that you want to accomplish. And the enemy, I keep saying, he is a sly, slick sucker, right? He is going to try to come in. He is seeking to whom he can devour. And the way that he starts attacking us also is through our minds. That causes a distraction. And then everything else starts to follow. But how can you conquer this? How can you defeat this? Well, some days it's easier and some days it's hard. But it's possible. It's not impossible for you to work on things that help you minimize your distractions. And so you have to look into your life and figure out what is distracting you. What is keeping you from being your best? What is keeping you from moving in the direction in which God has for you? So I'm going to give you guys 3 ways that I just want you to think about. You take it back to God, you chit chat and have a conversation and intimate moments with him. Okay, so that you hear from him what that looks like for you in your life. But these are things that I needed and that worked for me. So the first one is to be mindful and to be present. Okay, being mindful and being present means that you have to be in the space and time, in the here and the now. Okay. Now, the reason why I say that is because even in this instance, I have moments right now that are coming up. Um, in my thoughts, and I want to start thinking about what I have to do after I get off of this live, the other things that I am responsible, the tasks I have to complete. But by me thinking in the future, and there's nothing wrong with planning, there's a difference with that. I'm taking my focus off of what it is that I'm doing right here, right now, to the people that are listening and watching whenever and however they are. Okay. So I want to talk really quickly or read you the definition about multitasking. What is that? Multitasking is the act of performing multiple tasks at the same time, either by rapidly switching between them or by doing 2 or more tasks quickly. Okay. Now, the reason why I share this is because there's a lot of people that say, I'm really good at multitasking. Well, you might be really strong at it. Okay. So I'm not going to take that away from you because that is a skill set. All right. However, if you are multitasking, that means that you are switching and moving in between tasks. But in order for you to do that, or if that is happening, that means you have to take your focus off of one of those things and switch it to the other. Okay? Remember what the definition, if you're of what distraction is. A distraction is a thing that prevents someone from giving full attention to something else. And a second definition is extreme agitation of the mind or emotions. Okay? I get caught up in my emotions. And I mean, it happens quickly, 0 to 60. And then I start having thoughts that just keep me going down a cycle. And I'm like, oh my gosh, how did I get here? How did I get here? I had this one thought, and that one thought just went and I ran with it, and I didn't stop. I didn't pause to be mindful. Was there really something going on in this moment, in this time, and in this space that warranted me to have to think about something else and get me away from where I currently was at? No, not necessarily. But if you don't pause to think about that, ask yourself those questions, you're gonna take off and start running in a wrong direction that you don't need to go. Okay. So practicing being mindful, being aware in your current space, in your current time, and what you're really having to deal with and what you're going through. Okay. Number 2 has 3 parts to it: being disciplined, having support, and accountability. All right. We all need help. We all need help. So when there are things that we know that we're not strong at and that we're not good at, it is good to have a circle around you of people that know that you might have this struggle. Maybe you confided, maybe you shared that. Maybe you said, I am always distracted by TV. I'm always distracted by social media. I'm always distracted with scrolling. I'm always distracted because I like to talk for a really long time and I go beyond a time that I just don't need to do. And now I've been lost in 2, 3 hour conversation, and that's time I can't get back. Well, sharing it with somebody is helpful. Okay, being disciplined, maybe you set a timer for tasks that you have to do. You don't go over that time, or you don't go past that time, or you ask somebody, invite them in and say, hey, by this time, I shouldn't be working on this task anymore, or I can't be doing this anymore, and I have to be able to move on. Accountability. Sometimes you need an accountability partner and you need help with that. And there is nothing wrong with it. And it is okay, because that distraction is something that is a challenge for you. We all get distracted. Mine, what is my biggest distraction? Mine, probably I would have to say, is my kids. They can easily distract me because I always think that when they say they need something, they really don't. Partner telling me, hey, Tiff, they don't need that. They don't need that right now. Do what it is that you're doing. Finish what you're focused on and then go back to them. Or if not, I got it. I can help you. Okay. Um, and we all need that support. We all need that encouragement. We all need that awareness. And sometimes we have to ask for help. And the last one that I simply want to share with you is praying. Praying consistently and not stopping, right? Praying is going to be probably your biggest weapon. And I have another message about that I'm going to be pushing out later, that is called Prayer is Your Weapon. And it's the truth, because that is your strategy. That is your tool. That is where you get in conversation with God. That is where you get your help. That is where you get guidance. That is where you get clarity all the time, but you have to be patient enough to listen to the answer and to hear the response. Prayer is another means of asking for help, and it's partnering and having relationship with God in order to help you with that. God, I am always distracted in this area. I need your help. How do I do this differently? Because you probably have tried strategies and ways before to say, I'm always doing this, but I keep being in the same rut. I keep having the same distractions. I keep having the same issues always. But God is there to help. Absolutely. Has been there, will be there always to be able to help you with your distractions. We all go through it. We all have them, and nobody is exempt from it. I don't care who you are. I don't care what your position, what your title is, and what it looks like. We all struggle with distractions. And then, what ends up happening? What's another way for me to say it? You guys, I'm looking up, because I'm always like pulling stuff out of the air, my words out of the air. When we get distracted, right? That, and I talked about it earlier, but when you get distracted, right? And the one example I gave earlier is about time that you can't get back. Well, then we get frustrated. Then we get irritated because we ran out of time, but we allowed that to happen. And guilty as charged. I mean, like, oh man, my husband, he is always on me, but I appreciate him. And it's because of how he uses his time. And it is something that is your time is just something that money can't buy, right? You just can't. It impacts your peace. It can what am I trying to say? It can impact your peace, and it can, deter you away from what it is that you have to accomplish. And then you become overwhelmed. Or if you're anything like me, then I become overwhelmed, and then I'm like, oh my goodness, I have to do this, I have to do that, and what am I going to do? Well, there's nothing you can do other than get it right. Sit down, look at what you were supposed to do, figure out how to eliminate the distractions, and then you got to go to work. You have to go to work. There's nothing else that you can do. It's like Nike, you got to just do it. And if you got distracted, then you got to find a way not to be distracted anymore. If you have issues and challenges with your phone, turn off those notifications. They have means on the phone where you can silence your notifications. We all have, like, maybe YouTube notifications or comments or things that pop up. You can silence those things. You can do that when you're driving. You can silence your notifications on your phone when you're driving, and it lets somebody know that you can call them back. I learned that through one of my children's friends, tried to call the parent, and the parent had like this automatic response that said, I'm currently driving, some type of, language to that effect, and was like, hey, I I can't call you until I'm done driving. And that's a safe way to do it, because we got so many issues with distractions on the road. So, I mean, there's a means and way to do anything. Okay. anything. But what I want to remind you guys is that distractions are going to happen and they're going to come, but at what cost? And sometimes it's a small cost, sometimes it's a big cost. And distraction that could be a big cost. I mean, it's like an unfortunate example, but if people are on the phone texting and looking down, it could cost somebody their life. Somebody might be walking across the street and you don't see them. That is a cost that you can't fix. You can't bring that person back to life. And all it was is that moment of distraction, that phone call you had to take, that text message that you thought you had to respond to in that instance, and not using other automated means in order to respond. There are things that can be costly with distractions. And the question is what does that cost to you? All right. So I hope you guys are all wonderful out there. I hope you all take this message, listen to it again if you have to, pray about it. And, I hope that it serves you well. And as always, I appreciate each and every single one of you. You guys take care out there. And as always, be blessed.